Before history was written in books, it was written in the stars. 5,000 years ago, in the fertile lands between the Tigris and Euphrates, humanity lifted its eyes to the night sky and began to see patterns, messages, perhaps from the gods. The Babylonians, the architects of early civilization, became the first sky watchers. Their temples, called ziggurats, rose like stairways to heaven, their summits dedicated to observing the divine movements above. To them, the stars were not distant suns, they were living deities, each with a voice, a will, and a message for humankind. Every comet was a warning, every eclipse an omen. The priests of Babylon, the Baru, spent their lives watching, recording, and interpreting. They believed that the gods wrote the fate of empires in the heavens. From these observations emerged something extraordinary. The first Zodiac. 12 constellations, 12 divine stations through which the moon and planets passed, each marking a season, an emotion, a rhythm of life. The Babylonians didn't invent astrology to know personal fates. They invented it to guide kings, armies, and harvests, to keep balance between heaven and earth. Their tablets, such as the Enuma Anu Enlil, contain thousands of celestial records, the very foundation of astrology as we know it. When Mars glowed red, it meant war. When Jupiter shone bright, it was a sign of peace and prosperity. And thus, the world's oldest story began, the story of humanity trying to understand its place in the cosmos. To the ancient Egyptians, the sky was not just above them, it was alive. They saw the heavens as the goddess Nut, arching protectively over the earth god Geb, her body sparkling with stars. Each night, Nut swallowed the sun, and each dawn, she gave birth to it again, an eternal cycle of death and rebirth. Egypt's civilization was built upon this celestial rhythm. Their calendar, the most precise of the ancient world, was born from the heliacal rising of Sirius, the star whose appearance each year heralded the flooding of the Nile. This was not coincidence. It was divine timing. The great pyramids of Giza were not just tombs, they were cosmic machines. Each side faced a cardinal direction, and their shafts pointed toward the stars of Orion and the circumpolar constellations. To the Egyptians, Orion represented Osiris, god of the afterlife, and aligning one's tomb to him ensured a place among the immortal. Astrology in Egypt was a sacred science reserved for priests and pharaohs. The pharaoh himself was a celestial being, chosen by the gods and guided by the heavens. Each coronation, each temple festival, each journey of the dead timed with the movement of the stars. Where Mesopotamians read omens of the state, Egyptians sought order and harmony, what they called Ma'at. The stars were not capricious gods to be feared, but eternal lights, maintaining the cosmic balance. And so the Egyptians turned the heavens into architecture, ritual, and philosophy, a civilization built upon celestial perfection. Centuries later, across the Mediterranean, a new kind of mind began to gaze upward, not with fear, but with wonder. The Greeks inherited Babylonian star charts and Egyptian wisdom, but they added something revolutionary: reason. They asked, why do the stars move as they do? Could the universe itself be a vast, ordered system? From Pythagoras, they inherited the idea of the music of the spheres, that the planets moved in harmony, creating a cosmic symphony beyond human hearing. From Plato, they learned that the stars were eternal souls, pure and divine. And from Aristotle, they gained the first scientific cosmology, a universe of concentric spheres, each moved by divine perfection. But it was Claudius Ptolemy, in Alexandria, who unified it all. His great work, the Tetrapylons, became the cornerstone of Western astrology. He described how the positions of planets could influence character, fate, and the unfolding of human life, not through superstition, but through cosmic correspondence. To the Greeks, astrology became philosophy in motion, the belief that to know the stars was to know oneself. They believed that the human soul was a reflection of the heavens, and that by understanding the cosmos, one could reach harmony within. Thus, Astrology evolved from divine revelation into a science of destiny, a bridge between the physical and the spiritual. When the legions of Rome conquered nations, they also conquered their gods. And among the trophies they carried home from the East was astrology, the Babylonian art reborn through Greek philosophy. In the marble palaces of Rome, emperors turned their eyes skyward for guidance. Julius Caesar had his birth chart read before crossing the Rubicon. Augustus, the first emperor, declared himself born under the sign of Capricorn, the symbol of authority and renewal, and printed it on his coins as proof that the heavens had chosen him. Astrology became the invisible Senate of Rome. While generals planned battles and architects raised temples, astrologers whispered warnings of eclipses, comets, and alignments that might shift destiny itself. But with its growing influence came fear. The Senate banned astrologers more than once, suspecting their predictions of rebellion or assassination. Yet, the art never truly disappeared. It merely moved from public forums into private chambers, from temples into secret scrolls. For ordinary Romans, astrology was a language of hope. Soldiers carried amulets engraved with their planetary symbols. Lovers exchanged talismans marked by Venus. Farmers watched the stars to choose when to sow and harvest. In Rome, astrology became a democracy of destiny, practiced by the powerful and the poor alike. It was said that the fates rule the stars, and the stars rule men, and for centuries, the empire lived beneath that celestial law. Long before Rome rose, India had already mapped the heavens, not for power, but for understanding the cosmic rhythm of life. In the ancient Sanskrit texts of the Vedas, Jyotish Vidya, the science of light, to the sages of India, every soul carried within it a spark of the divine, a reflection of the cosmos itself. Astrology was not fortune-telling. It was karma written in the sky. The Navagraha, the 9 planetary deities, represented living forces. Surya, the sun, the soul, and vitality. Chandra, the moon, emotion and mind. Buddha, intellect. Shukra, Venus, love and beauty. Mangala, courage and conflict. Guru, wisdom. Shani, Saturn, discipline and karma. Rahu and Ketu, the shadow nodes, agents of eclipse and transformation. Indian astrologers, called Jyotishis, used mathematics of astonishing precision. The Surya Siddhant calculated planetary orbits with methods rivaling modern astronomy. Temples were aligned to solstices and equinoxes, and festivals timed by lunar cycles. Every decision, marriage, war, coronation, began with the muhurta, the auspicious moment chosen by the stars. Yet, beneath this precision lay a profound spiritual truth. The stars incline, they do not bind. Human action karma could transcend fate. In India, astrology was not just a system, it was a dialogue between heaven and soul, where light became the language of destiny. In China, the stars were not symbols of gods, they were the bureaucrats of heaven. Just as the emperor ruled Earth, the Jade Emperor ruled the cosmos, and every star had its appointed duty. Astrology in China was a matter of state, overseen by the Imperial Astronomical Bureau. Within the Forbidden City, court astrologers charted the heavens nightly, for any disturbance in the sky could mean rebellion below. When a comet appeared, the court trembled. When an eclipse darkened the sun, it was interpreted as heaven's censure, a warning that the emperor had failed in virtue. Thus was born the idea of the mandate of heaven, that cosmic order justified earthly rule. Chinese astrology focused on cycles, not just signs, 12 zodiac animals, 5 elements, and the balance of yin and yang created a living clockwork of destiny. The Book of Changes, I Ching, taught that nothing was fixed. Every alignment, every omen, was part of a flowing pattern. Astrology guided medicine, architecture, warfare, even urban planning. Entire cities were designed to mirror celestial harmony. Beijing itself aligned with the pole star, the axis of heaven. For the Chinese, to live rightly was to move with the flow of qi, the cosmic breath of the universe. And so, their astrology became a philosophy of balance, where human virtue maintained harmony between earth and sky. As Rome turned the stars into politics, India turned them into light, and China turned them into order, the world was learning a single truth: civilization and the cosmos were reflections of one another. Next, we'll travel west and north to Mesoamerica, Persia, and the Celtic world, where new civilizations found their own languages of the stars, and the cosmic story reached its mystical crescendo. Across the ocean, where the jungles of Central America swallowed stone and silence, another people read the language of the sky not with telescopes, but with temples. The Maya were master mathematicians and astronomers, whose understanding of time rivaled any ancient empire. To them, time was alive, a living, breathing entity that repeated itself in cosmic cycles. They created the Tzolk'in, a 260-day sacred calendar, and the Hab, a solar year of 365 days. Together, they wove time into an endless spiral of beginnings and endings. Every day had a destiny, every birth a cosmic signature. The priests of the Maya observed Venus with reverence. Its morning and evening appearances marked war and peace, life and sacrifice. Their most sacred texts, like the Dresden Codex, recorded lunar tables and planetary paths with astonishing accuracy. To them, the gods were the stars, and the movements of those gods determined the fate of cities.
When eclipses came, they believed the sky itself was reborn. And when their calendar cycle, the long count, reached its great completion in 2012, the world once again turned its gaze to their prophecies, proving that even millennia later, their cosmic story still spoke to ours. In the temples of Palenque, Tikal, and Chichen Itza, the stars were not far away, they were the architects. Each stone aligned to solstice light, each pyramid a stairway to eternity. For the Maya, time was the ultimate god, and the sky was its eternal scripture. Before the empires of Islam, before Rome's legions, the land of Persia burned with a sacred flame, the light of Ahura Mazda, god of truth. From this divine fire arose a priestly order, the Magi, whose wisdom shaped both religion and astrology for centuries to come. In Zoroastrian cosmology, the universe was a battlefield between light and darkness. The stars were not mere ornaments but the shining warriors of Ahura Mazda, standing against the shadow forces of Engramenyu. Persian astrologers, inheriting the Chaldean system, refined the art with extraordinary precision. They developed horoscopic astrology, blending Greek mathematical models with Babylonian omens. Each planet was seen as a divine intelligence, influencing the spiritual and moral path of humanity. They believed that by reading the heavens, one could understand not only fate, but also the eternal struggle between good and evil. The Magi's influence extended far beyond Persia. When the Gospel of Matthew spoke of wise men from the east following a star to Bethlehem, it was the Magi, Persian astrologer priests, who had seen the celestial sign. Their teachings later influenced Islamic astronomy, Jewish mysticism, and even European alchemy. Persia became the bridge between the ancient and medieval worlds, where astrology evolved from a ritual to a universal science of light. For the Magi, the stars were mirrors of divine order, symbols of a cosmic struggle that still echoes in every human heart. Far to the north, in the misty isles and forests of ancient Europe, the Celts and Druids watched the stars in silence. They had no written records, no codified astrology, yet their monuments and myths tell us they, too, were listeners to the heavens. Stonehenge, rising from the English plains, was no mere circle of stones. It was an observatory aligned to the solstices, where the first light of summer sunrise pierced the heart of the monument. To the Druids, the year was divided by celestial events. Samhain marked the descent of the sun into darkness. Imbolc, the return of light. Beltane, the fire of life. Lugnasad, the ripening of the earth. They saw no separation between sky and soil, spirit and nature. The moon guided their festivals, and the constellations told the rhythm of life and death. The Milky Way was the path of souls, a celestial bridge to the otherworld. In their myths, stars were not just lights, they were ancestors, heroes, spirits watching over the living. While Babylon sought to read destiny and Greece to reason with it, the Druids sought to commune with it. Their astrology was one of intuition and ritual, a silent harmony between the earth beneath their feet and the heavens above. And though their temples now lie in ruin, their reverence for the sky remains etched into the stone's eternal calendars carved in mystery and moonlight. The story of astrology is the story of humanity's longing to understand itself. From the plains of Babylon to the pyramids of Egypt, from the temples of India to the jungles of the Maya, every civilization looked upward and saw not chaos, but meaning. Over time, astrology changed form but not essence. In medieval Baghdad, scholars preserved and translated the star texts of Greece and Persia. In Renaissance Europe, men like Kepler and Galileo studied the same heavens, and though they found laws of physics, they still spoke in the language of wonder. Astrology moved from temples to telescopes, from priests to philosophers, from mystics to modern minds. Yet its core idea remained, that the universe and the human soul are reflections of one another. Today, even as science measures the galaxies, the ancient impulse remains. We still check our horoscopes, gaze at constellations, and feel something stir, a quiet memory that we, too, are made of stardust. Astrology, at its heart, was never about prediction. It was about connection, a recognition that every movement in the heavens has its echo within us. The stars may be silent, but across 5,000 years, their light continues to speak. And if we listen closely, we might still hear what our ancestors heard, that the universe is not indifferent, but alive, and that we, its children, are part of its eternal rhythm.